Returnal Ascension, the new DLC, free update which has just been released for Returnal. Along with it, I bought some new trophies. Luckily, nothing compared to the main game, so it's not going to be a massive grind. You can literally do this in a few hours. What I'm doing in this video, I'm going to explain each trophy one by one, and then once I've explained them all to you, I'll then go into a roadmap, because by that point you should sort of understand what's required, and the roadmap should make more sense to you. The first trophy, Eternal Ascent, die and return in the tower. Most of you will perhaps get this trophy first before any others. Pretty simple, you just need to die for the first time. Restarting cycle from the main menu will not trigger this, you actually have to die at the hands of your enemy. The second trophy we will dive into is Broken, Restored, Empty. Complete the first hospital sequence. The bed will appear in the hub area the first time you die, or the first time you restart a cycle, either of them two. And you interact with the bed and it will take you to like a flashback sequence similar to the house in the main game. But in this instance it will take you to a hospital. Once you're in the hospital for the first time, all you need to do is go to the elevator at the end, press a button, and then come back, interact with the door on the side. Once you've done that, go back to the bed where you wake up and interact with that, and that will take you back to the hub, and that's when the trophy will pop. The hospital sequences will be needed for a few other trophies, but I'll dive into them a little bit later. This third trophy I'll go into, Empty Embrace. Open the locked door. For this one, a little bit more complicated. It's nothing compared to the ciphers and the scout logs from the main game. I don't think anything compares to that. This one you have to collect 6 poppies throughout the tower, but only one poppy appears at a time, and the second one will not appear until you've died or you complete a specific hospital sequence. Now, where these poppies appear, they'll just appear on the ground. Luckily, they do appear in fixed rooms. They're not random, it's always in the same room. Luckily, there are 6 we have to collect. So normally what you need to do is you'll do the first hospital sequence. So you'll start the game, you died the first hospital sequence. You'll start the game and the first poppy is in phase 1, room 2. That's where you'll find the first poppy, phase 1, room 2. And like I say, after you get one, the second one will not appear until you've died or restarted cycle. Unfortunately, so it means you have to go through at least 6 times just to get the poppies. So the first one is on 1, 2. Then the second poppy is on phase 1, room 11.
Another poppy.
The third poppy is on phase 2, room 1. The fourth poppy is on phase 2, room 3. The fifth poppy is on phase 2, room 11. And the sixth poppy is on phase 2, room 20. Now to put that trophy, Empty Embrace. First you need to collect 4 poppies. Then once you've collected 4 poppies, you go into the hospital. You do not have to go into the hospital at 1 or 2 or 3 poppies. You do not need to go back in the hospital. You can go in there, but nothing is required to progress the story. Once you go into hospital, after getting that 4th poppy, you head forward. There'll be some wheelchairs, head forward, and there'll be like a little flash. Then you turn around and there'll be a vase right next to that side door, which you interact with on your first hospital visit, and there'll be 4 poppies inside. Interact with that vase, and then after that you can go back to the hospital chair and you can leave, go back to the hub area. And then once you've done that, that will cause poppy 5 to spawn. So you go back through the game, you get poppy 5, and then once you've got poppy 5, either you will die or you will start a cycle. And then you go back through it again to get poppy 6, and then once you've got poppy 6, you then go back into hospital after getting poppy 6.
Yes.
And once you get poppy 6, you'll head forward and then you'll be able to go into the side door, go into the side room, and there'll be a little cutscene. After that, you will pop that trophy, Empty Embrace. I'll explain the next trophy, which is sort of connected to the poppies. Find release, gain a moment of peace. What will happen when you've got Empty Embrace? you actually have to go through all the way to the phase 3 boss. So you'd have to get to phase 3, floor 20. There is where the final boss in its true form is. The boss is there in its true form. You beat him there, and then Selene will comment that you need to go back to hospital. You go back to hospital, and then when you get back to hospital, you go back into side room again, interact with the beds, and then after that there'll be some cutscenes, and you'll pop the last story trophy connected to the DLC, which is the find release, gain a moment of peace. And another thing of note, and thanks to RIP113 on PSN Profiles to make me aware of this. Thank you for that, buddy. Yes, you also need to complete all the house sequences in the main story in order to get this last sequence in this tower DLC. So if you cannot get that last sequence to trigger, which is what pops the find release trophy, it's likely because you haven't done all the house sequences in the main game first. Likely because it's spoiler, and it will spoil the main game story. So they've made it so you have to do the main game first, the story, before you can actually get this last trophy in the DLC. I'll go into the 2 boss trophies next. The Watcher, defeat Algos first form, and Eyes Closed, defeat Algos final form. He's a boss you'll face at the end of each phase. It's always the same, but each new phase you get onto, he have like an extra health bar. The first time you encounter him in phase 1 and 20, he'll have 1 health bar, and when you defeat him that very first time, that's when you will get the Watcher trophy. And when you defeat him in phase 3, room 20, which will be his final form, he'll have 3 health bars like a normal main story boss. When you beat him there, that's when you'll get the Eyes Closed trophy. So when you're going to collect all the 6 poppies, you can actually do that at the same time, sort of get 2 things out of the way. The final trophy I will go into is Destroyer. Kill 100 hostiles with Disgorgers. Now, it's not entirely made clear to begin with in nice Returnal fashion exactly how to unlock these. I'll just take a moment to explain how things unlock. On phase 1, room 9, that's when you first unlock the ability to make the red item spawn. They're like a red pedestal. It's got like a eye above it. You shoot that eye and it reveals an item below. They are always keys. So in room 1, phase 1, room 9 is when you unlock that ability. To unlock the Disgorgers, they will normally be either in a locked chest or behind a locked door. The Disgorger is like it's a consumable, but it's a overpowered weapon which acts as a consumable. They kill enemies so fast. They actually do not unlock until phase 2, room 13. That's when you find them for the first time, and once you have, then going forward on every repeat cycle after that, like I say, they'll be either in every chest or behind every locked door. You can also find them sometimes when you get into the puzzle rooms. Sometimes there's certain paths you can take in a puzzle room, and that will lead directly to a Disgorger. Malformed enemies will most of the time drop a Disgorger as well, so you can get quite a lot, but it's best to try and go for that. You don't have to go for that very early, but it's best to go for it sort of after your second or third cycle, trying to unlock the Disgorgers so you can start working towards them. And one more thing, reference unlocking, the green items, they're the green pedestal, similar to the red ones, but green. They unlock in the same room that you unlock the Disgorgers in, but on your next cycle. So you'll get Disgorgers on phase 2, room 13, and then when you go through another cycle in that same room, so phase 2, room 13 again, then will be the green items to unlock them. And the green pedestals, they almost always have a shield vial. And one more thing I note, just a quick tip, if you ever see the white tentacles, the plyloids they're called, the white sort of tentacle enemies, when you spawn into a room, you want to quickly destroy them. They only appear for a limited time, sort of like their counterparts in the main game. If you remember, the ones in the main game that you can shoot, and you have to be quick before they disappear, and they normally drop something useful. Yeah, in this they take like a white form. Quickly kill them, and an orb will spawn in the space for about 5 seconds, and you can quickly run into that orb and it will teleport you away to a secret room, and in that room there will always be a key, providing you have unlocked the red item pedestals. There'll always be a key in there and some useful items. With all the trophies now out of the way, I now carefully explain the roadmap, what I believe to be the most optimal way to get all the trophies. So to begin, you start the game and you want to die to an enemy to begin in order to pop that trophy for dying, and also to unlock the hospital bed. Then you go to the hospital, do the first hospital sequence. Again, you need to interact with the elevator and then to the side room, and then go back to the hospital bed to go back to the hub room, and that will complete the first sequence. Once you've done that, go to phase 1 room 2 to get the first poppy. Once you've got the first poppy, then restart cycle. Go back through the tower, but this time to phase 1 room 11 to get the second poppy. Once you've got that, restart cycle again, and now we'll go to phase 2 room 13, and along the way we'll obviously kill the boss, so we'll get the trophy for the first boss. And we also want to make sure we grab poppy 3 in phase 2 room 1. We want to make sure we get that poppy. We also want to make sure we get the red pedestals in phase 1 room 9. And the reason we're going to phase 2 room 13 is because we want to unlock the Disgorgers. So once you've got the Disgorger unlocked, you then restart checkpoint. And now we're going to go through a tower again, but this time we're going to go to phase 2 room 3 to get poppy 4. Once you've got poppy 4, we start checkpoint, and now we're going to go back in the hospital. We're going to do the second hospital sequence, where you just head forward towards wheelchairs, then after a little flash, turn around and interact with the poppy pot on the floor. Once you've done that, go back to the bed and it will warp you back to the hub world, and then that will trigger poppy 5 and 6 to spawn. Once poppy 5 has spawned, we're then going to go back through the tower again, all the way to phase 2 room 13 again to get poppy 5. Poppy 5 is actually in phase 2 room 11, but we're going to phase 2 room 13 in order to unlock the green items. Just make sure you get poppy 5 on the way. Once you've got the green items unlocked in phase 2 room 13, then going to restart checkpoint, and then once you restart cycle, and then once you restart cycle, you're going to go through the tower again, but this time we're going to go all the way to phase 2 room 20. Phase 2 room 20. You have to defeat the boss for a second time there, and just before you leave the boss area where you walk away, just before the walk point, will be poppy number 6. Once you've got poppy number 6, restart cycle. Now go back into hospital. We'll do hospital sequence number 3 now. Just go up to the base near the side door, interact with it, the door will open, go inside, and that will trigger the cutscene, which will pop the second hospital trophy. The first one was the first sequence, and then the second one is for doing the poppy 6 sequence. Then once you got that trophy for sequence number 3, we're then going to go back into tower, and we're going to go all the way up to phase 3 room 20 now, and we're going to complete the boss in its final form. You get that trophy for beating the boss in its final form. But also, once you've done that, you get some dialogue with Selene. She'll mention going back to the hospital. So once you've done that, we'll restart cycle, we'll be back in the hub, and we'll go back in the hospital, and then all you do then, go into the side room, you get the last hospital trophy, and that should, by that point, be all the trophies, because once you've unlocked the Disgorgers, as you go through the tower, try and get the rest of the poppies, and defeat the last boss there, you would have been getting Disgorgers along the way, and try and get kills with them. Remember, Disgorgers will always appear in a locked chest or behind a locked door, and you can always find them normally within a sort of puzzle area. It's normally the puzzle areas where the floor will raise, and you have to be quick. The limited time puzzle areas. It's normally them ones, they will always lead to a Disgorger in one of the paths. And that's pretty much it, guys, for the trophy guide and roadmap for Returnal Ascension DLC. I'm also going to put up a full walkthrough of this, because I did actually record myself going through every single trophy when I was actually recording for this guide you're watching now. It only took me 2 hours 20 minutes I think to get every trophy, so I'm just going to lob a video up for that as well, in case you do just want to watch every single trophy in motion, going from start to finish. I hope you've enjoyed this trophy guide and roadmap and that it's been helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.